Hey guys, and welcome back to another episode of Power Rangers Lore. Today we're going to talk about the history of Power Rangers. Not the overall, background history, but I mean, the full-on ancient history of the lore of Power Rangers, going back millions of years ago to the first start of it on. Now, this is the first part of a whole sequence of episodes going way further back, and we had to break it up because there's just a lot of information. Let me just go, there's different eras here. There's the ancient history, recent history, present day, which is from the Mighty Morphin Season 1 all the way up to Dino Fury. Then there's the near future, as well as distant future, and the like. So I'm going to break this up into several different key areas. We're probably going to touch on ancient history this episode, and then the next episode we'll go to recent history, and then present day, which is a long, complicated storyline for that one, and then go through near future and distant future. But that's going to take a while for some of these, so let's start from the beginning. Ancient history. Millions of years ago, the first occurrence that happened was the power eggs being sealed away by the morphing masters on Earth. Now, what are the power eggs? We don't exactly know. They're hinted once in one episode that talked about they are really powerful, and the morphing masters didn't want anyone to get their hands on them, so they sealed them away on prehistoric Earth way back then, millions of years ago, during some unknown era. Around the same time, Ulrich the Conqueror comes to Earth and turns himself into a tiki and becomes dormant on the Mysterio Island. Now, Ulrich the Conqueror, there's not much known about him besides the fact that he is a force for good. He's basically the size of a Megazord. With the name Conqueror, it usually means the connotation of a villain, but no, he's not. I would say he's a conqueror of darkness. He destroys it, he obliterates it, and he keeps pushing at the light. But that is just speculation there. Now we're going to jump up several million years to the Pangea era. During this time period, the one major known event is the Furious and Moltor work together to try to capture the Corona Aurora from the Sentinel Knight. And they fail and are imprisoned in a dormant volcano and essentially somewhere in the North Pole. To protect the powers from falling in the wrong hands, the Sentinel Knight scatters the jewels and the crown all over Earth. They would be picked up later on by the different tribes and peoples of civilizations of Earth and scattered even furthermore. Now, we're going to take a huge jump again to 150 million years ago, is when the Qrex arrives on Earth in the Jurassic period from the future. Now, at the same point, a mutant arrives soon after to try to find it, along with Wesley and Eric Miners also follow up and are able to retrieve the Megazord. Now, why is the Qrex back there? It is kind of part of a time-spatial accident, so I had to really think about exactly what I was going to word it. But it essentially, they had to go back in time to go retrieve it. It got lost, and they only realized it was around that time period due to some time traveling BS. Now we're going to jump up another 65 million years ago from the... Now when I say millions of years ago, I mean millions of years from the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers first episode. Now, this is where Zato and the Knights of... I'm going to butcher this name. Zarfcon? Knights of I said this name now. I said the name correct before, but now I'm just going Rifcon, that's it. Rifcon. The Knights of Rifcon chase the Spirit Beasts from their home planet after it was nearly destroyed to Earth, but are unable to defeat them. They basically make an alliance with the dinosaurs of the time period, who have some sentience at some point. They're able to communicate. It's probably on a emotional, mental level. And that is when the Morphing Masters arrive, when their battle is still going lost. And the Morphing Masters agree and give them the powers of the Morphing Grid, attaching them, becoming the 6 Dino Rangers, as well as turning the dinosaurs into Megazords. Though they are not able to destroy the Spork species, they are able to essentially put them in hyperstasis under Dinohenge. And from there on out, they are sealed away, and the Spork's threat is contained. Now, also during this time, the Dino Gems, which are created by the Morphing Masters, come to Earth on a crashed meteorite that destroys the dinosaur population. Which is ironic because the Morphing Masters helped save the dinosaurs and then destroyed them by another one of their creations. Good job. So skipping millions of years in the future, 100,000 years ago for episode 1, Lord Zed leaves Rita in charge of his empire while he rules in darker places in another galaxy. We don't know what that exactly means, but we know that about this time period, that in the canon universe for the TV show, he's looking for something else, and we believe it is the Zeo Crystal. Now, we know the Zeo Crystal is hidden on Earth's moon to keep it from Master Vile, and it's also around the same time period that Lord Zed finds it, with the and is basically stripped of his flesh by the force field that is placed around it, and he claims the Moon Palace at this same point, basically going, if I can't have it, no one else can. It goes from that point on. Now, Rita Repulsa sought to conquer many worlds 20,000 years from the beginning of the Power Rangers, and basically starts the meeting between Rita Repulsa and Zordon. Now, another 8,000 years later, about 12,000 years before the beginning of the Power Rangers, the first real battles begin between Zordon of Eltar and Rita of M51 Galaxy begin. Now, this is just, before then there's probably little skirmishes, they hadn't fully met. Now we see the full renditions of the battles. Now, this is where everything starts to really escalate. 10,000 years ago, as we know from the beginning, where Rita goes, after 10,000 years, I'm finally free. It's time to conquer Earth. Rita is defeated and sealed inside a dumpster, but not before trapping Zordon in a time warp. That's why we see him. It's all because of Rita. And we don't see the battle that's going place, but we know it's on Earth, or at least on Earth's moon. But I believe it's all over the planet, and I think we're going to see why this caused something. Now, it says unrelated to the Morphing Grid, but about the same time period, 10,000 years ago, the Beast Wars happens between Daishi wanting to eliminate all of humanity. Now, I believe, and this is my own fan theory, mind you, but I think the battle between Rita and Zordon caused the Beast Wars going on there. Imagine you are Daishi, who's a dragon, who's kind of like didn't really like humanity, and then you see the planet being destroyed, and you see these humanoid figures, and it's definitely not beasts, or using Renzen or anything else, and you see all this stuff going down. Who are you going to be mad at? You're going to be mad at humanity, and I think this is what's caused there, especially with Rita Repulsa looking human herself. There you go. Now, at the same time period, the Phantom Beasts are the cruelest creatures on the planet and have fought against humanity, tried to defeat Daishi. Now, this is where the big betrayal happens and the war is lost. Now, the warriors, along with the masters, channel their animal spirits, aren't able to trap Daishi inside of a box. And at this point, the ashes of the Phantom Beasts are carried into the Crystal Eyes, which can later resurrect them from a rare star alignment. Also, this time period, Master Rael, Gal, and Lo are destroyed in animal form and take up residence in the spirit world. Now, this is where they would go back and forth and help them as much as possible. And this is where also, at the same time period, the Pai Shui Masters passing spirit techniques to their descendants, in which creates the entire temple complex. Now, the Order of the Claw is created soon after to train students in Kung Fu to basically prepare humanity for it in case the other beasts return and any further other destructive forces. Now, we would only see the beasts return in truth because they're trained in mental and physical forms and ways to harness their animal spirits, but we don't know why they don't really form up. But I have speculations wise that they helped influence other things going on, such as Animaris and the like. Now, about 5,000 years ago, the Face Stealer monster is imprisoned in its little chamber by masked warriors. Now, these masked warriors are not Power Rangers per se, but these are people who wore masks in order to prevent their faces being stolen, because it steals people's faces, and that causes a lot of issues in the future. Now, where this monster came from, we don't know. It was not part of Rita's army, but it might have been a mercenary, or it just might have been its own monster just trying to do whatever. Now, around the same time period, demons, evil spirits, and the like inhabit the earth. They have conquered it fully, and the demons served none other than Queen Banshira, who just sought to destroy man. Now, they would be defeated as time would happen, and would have their entire palace destroyed in any of the works they once had by none other than a powerful sorcerer, also quote-unquote the Sorcerer of the Sand. Now, after this time period, things would disappear, and basically humanity would be restored. 3,000 years ago, Scorpius kills the Magus Defender's son, Rika. The Magus Defender releases the Lights of Orion, but is soon defeated and thrown into a chasm, where he is said to basically stay there until he dies, and just inhabits the area as a spirit basically haunting it. Now the Quasar Sabers are placed in a stone on the planet Marina. We don't know who placed them there, but it's speculated now that it was probably the Morphing Masters, or the Morphing Masters created them and then gave them to somebody to help defeat the Force Evil at the time, and would basically put down later on for essentially to be used again. Now, 3 of the Galactic Beasts were lost in a great battle. We don't know what they fought, but they were fought in a massive battle and were lost somewhere in the galaxy. Yeah, words. Now, this is also going back to Earth around the same time period. Orcs attack Animaria. Master Orc gets destroyed, destroys Animus, the god of the essentially the spirit creatures and the Zords at the time, as well as Animaria. And Merrick uses, in a last-ditch attempt to defeat Master Org, the cursed wolf mask of Zenaku to defeat him, and along with the Predazords, he does. However, it turns him wholly evil and takes full possession of him. That the other warriors, other Power Rangers at the time, would eventually have to seal him away and imprison him, and Princess Shayla would forever mourn his loss, thinking he was dead. Now, we're skipping back up to a long period of time here. This is going to be during called the Calendar Era. Now, this is only one major thing going on in this time period, but it's a really interesting thing. So, in the year 25, the mission to protect the Evil Stone, which is a shard of the Well of the Abyss that Lothar was basically filling up with his flunkies, is given in possession of an alien warrior named Expara, and names Baskins to come to Earth and uses the defense and a book to contain the field. The stone goes in hibernation every 100 years. Now, what is the stone? It is called the Evil Stone. Again, it's a shard of this force of darkness and can power even greater forces of darkness even further. Over a millennium before the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers starts, no exact time period happens here, but this is what happens is Ninjor grants the Battle Borgs to the Aquarians. We don't know exactly sure why he did it, other than the fact that he needed it, but he just gives them this and basically leaves it with them for 1,000 years before the beginning of the series. Now, 1,000 years before the beginning of the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers, sorry, I was about to say Powerpuff Girls. Pharaoh leaves Divatox at the altar. Yes, she is really good at picking the wrong type of husband material. I'm just gonna say that. 1,000 years before Zero, following the defeat in battle, King Mundo buries the Damocles sword on Earth. Mundo's heir, Prince Gasket, later elopes with Arachnia, who is another robot. Now, also at the same time period, 1,000 years also, about this time, Madame Odious, his goal is to form an army to control the legendary Nexus Prism. Now, that is a long time period to form a plan and form an army. In my opinion, you don't need 1,000 years. It seems humanity can build hundreds of thousands of army in less than a few years or a few days, depending on who you are. So I think her planning was unnecessary. Now, that would be the last thing of ancient history that we know of, and it's going to go into recent history, which will be about centuries before the beginnings of the thing. So we're going to wait there. If you guys have any questions, we'll continue on the next episode. But full on, ask me any questions, any other things you guys want me to talk about, don't worry. Thank you guys again for everything you've done, and I love you guys. Be safe, and have a good weekend. May the power protect you always. Make sure to comment, like, and subscribe at the end of this video. All your likes help me out, and all your watchers do too. Thank you very much, guys. I would really like to discuss with you guys what your topics are. May the power protect you always.